Hi, I'm Julie Kunstler, Chief Analyst of Broadband Access Technologies here at Network X in October 2022 in Amsterdam. And with me, I have Jurgen Hatheier, CTO of Europe. Introduce yourself a little bit more.
Thanks, Julie. First of all, it's great to see you in person finally after these many years. And my name is Jurgen Hatheier. I'm the CTO for EMEA and Asia-Pac here at Ciena. And I'm working with my team and our customers on the future state of networking and how we set ourselves up to really make an impact, not only for the top line and bottom line of our customers, but also to society.
So let's talk a little bit about that, broadband and society. What is the importance of broadband to society?
So there are a lot of really important elements of broadband for an economy, for society. For me personally, the one thing that stands out, and the last 2 years have really making proof to that we close a digital divide by providing broadband to everyone. It doesn't matter where you live in the world, you have access to a global job market, you can participate as an enterprise in a global market, but most importantly, there is not a two-class society when we're all connected.
And that means everyone connected with broadband that can meet their needs, such as working from home, studying from home, entertaining from home.
I think that's a great point. So when we talk about fiber to the home, yes, it's all of above. It's the learning aspect, giving our kids access to the education that they might not otherwise receive when living somewhere in the countryside. It's about participating in a global workforce. And if you are maybe a small or medium business that runs from a rural site, you get access to a global market, a global customer base.
So there's a huge emphasis here about fiber to the home, fiber to the premise, fiber to the business, to the school, for example. Why now?
So there are multiple factors that play into why now. First of all, countries have seen that the importance of building out infrastructure to connect their population, increases the wealth and it helps the growth. So if you just compare internationally, there are countries with lower GDPs where you see very low fixed access connection rates of 10 to 15%, whereas in the Western world it's about 80. 5G is a great technology that helps us to consume the services everywhere, but it still does not replace that fixed access connection. Secondly, I also believe that the accelerated consumption of data moving into the cloud requires us to have higher standards of connectivity. And while DSL and HFC have served us well and are still serving us well in many applications, fiber is the ultimate solution that not only gives investors the safety of a medium that will outlast all of us. Yes. Eventually, and has unlimited capacity whilst not consuming any power. So I think fiber now is really the summary of all these factors coming together, and I'm personally very happy to see that evolution, for the better of all of us.
Yeah, and I think that for many countries, they really saw fiber and high-speed broadband as a nationalistic competitive advantage. And I'm beginning to see that movement from the EU and from the United States and Canada, for example, with these governments putting some funding, sizable funding behind it.
Absolutely. I think we have a couple of role models if you go further east into Korea or Singapore, where you have had 10 gigabit PON for a number of years already. We see that the governments are stimulating the build-outs where in the past the business case would have not worked out, but also private investors are really pouring in money that help us to close that gap. And just as an example, there's twice as much funding available in the UK these days by investors than is required to actually build 100% penetration of fiber to the home. And that's impressive, and that also speaks for the movement of fiber to the home.
Yeah, what they see is the opportunity and what's it going to be long term. So let's talk a little bit about sustainability, because one of the huge advantages of fiber optic technology, and specifically in access, something we call PON, the P stands for passive. And as energy prices rise and are forecast to rise quite steeply this winter, talk a little bit about PON and its sustainability, and especially compared to satellite technology. Every number of years, satellites get a lot of hype. Oh, it's going to be the next great solution for broadband. If you can do a little bit of compare to
I would love to, and I already love that you're going full spectrum. One end, the very energy efficient PON technology, and satellites as being quite power hungry. But let's just talk about any type of fiber technology. Here at Ciena, as you know, we're coming from the inside out, from the core out. And the innovation that we have seen just over the last couple of years has been really tremendous in terms of reducing the power consumption per bit transferred, or the efficiency basically of the technology. Just imagine a car that ran on 10 liters per 100 kilometers in the past would now run on 1 liter per 100 kilometer. That's the type of power efficiency that we accomplished by improving our technology over the last couple of years. So PON itself, no active components in the network. It only got endpoints which are very efficient. There are low power optical transceivers that are built in the subscriber CPE and even in the OLT. So we can really serve a segment of 3264 customer with only a couple of 100 watts. If you compare that to satellite technology, I think we all know that satellite has to bridge far bigger distances over the air. And just those consumer terminals, which will evolve, of course, over time, you're talking about power consumption levels, which are an entire segment of PON. And I think a rocket launch has something very magical to it, but also the atmosphere doesn't appreciate all the CO2 we are leaving behind there. With that said, though, I still love the satellite technology because it really helps us where we can't reach with fiber.
Right.
It really helps to, in a toolkit of a nation to serve everyone. Maybe not equally from a speed and quality perspective, but those satellites play a very, very important role also for our society and digital economy.
Yeah, certainly in large countries with very significant rural areas. But the other issue that I see with satellites is that they have to be replaced every so often, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, but it's a relatively short lifespan. And we look at fiber, and it certainly should last 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, I don't know, but a long time.
Absolutely, and I think the proof is always in the eating. And if you look at just the submarine cables, which have active components in there, and they have been deployed, decades ago, they're still in operation. We have upgraded the technology that transmits the data through the fiber, and we have been able to, keep them up to standards. And if you look at a passive fiber, you replace the endpoint and you're there. And for us at Ciena, we are looking at the whole end-to-end life cycle of such an ecosystem, and we have put programs in place with circular economy to also make sure that as you upgrade from one piece of technology to the other, you're going to recycle material, reuse components, which are rare these days as well, and we're going to keep the entire economic life cycle and footprint that we leave in mind as well.
Right, and that's one of the great things about PON as an access technology is that you can touch the endpoints without ever having to touch what's in between. So the upgrade path is about as simple as you can make it for an operator.
That's right, yes. And I think as an industry, and you look at even the connectorization and how easy fiber became over the last couple of years. Remember how people were worried 10, 15 years ago, oh my God, you need a PhD to splice the cable.
I can even do it now.
Yeah, exactly. So we have made advances that really made it so operationally viable. And I want to thank all the players in the industry that really enable this ecosystem, and I'm really proud that we can be part of that.
Yes, layer zero, test and measurement companies, active equipment, passive equipment. Yeah.
Exactly.
Great. Thank you very much, Jurgen.
Well, thank you, Julie. It was a pleasure.